Hey guys, this is Jordan here from Tech Today, and in this video I have a $25,000 overkill gaming PC build for you guys, so let's jump right in. So to start out this $25,000 gaming PC build, we have an Intel Core i7-5960X 8-core CPU from Intel. So this CPU features a 3 GHz clock speed and 8 physical cores, unlike the 4790K, which only has 4 physical cores and 4 virtual cores. And these are also very solid cores from Intel, and they're much stronger than any of AMD's cores. And it also has 20 megabytes of L3 cache, which will really help out the CPU. And it has the latest LGA 2011-3 socket type. So now, let's move on to the full custom water cooling loop. So I've chosen to do this because it really would deliver the best possible performance, and it comes in at about $2,000. And you can always change anything in that because I really never spec'd it out completely. So you may probably spend less, I'm not exactly positive, but this will deliver great temps and also a great aesthetic to the build. So that's why I selected that. So now let's move on to the motherboard. So I picked out an ASUS Rampage 5 Extreme motherboard. And ASUS is a very reliable company. They always put out great products and have a great warranty policy to back them up. So this supports the CPU, of course, and it can also support 64 gigabytes of memory, which is incredible. And we will be utilizing all of that too, so that'll be great. And it can also support up to 3000 megahertz memory, and that will give for very fast operation. And it is the X99 chipset, so you have the latest chipset from Intel. And it can support 4-way SLI, which is incredible, and 8 SATA 6 gigabit per second ports, and we will also be utilizing all of those. And it also supports AC Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.0, so you can get those really snappy speeds that AC Wi-Fi provides, and Bluetooth 4.0 as well, for more wireless connectivity. And it also has great onboard audio. It has the Supreme FX audio chipset on board, which will give great audio. So now, let's move on to the RAM. So for the memory, I've picked out 64 gigabytes of Corsair Dominator Platinum DDR4 2666 megahertz memory. And this is an incredible amount of memory. This will do it great in any professional applications or video editing or rendering. It will really help you out. And we'll also be maxing out the support for memory on this board. So that'll be great. So for storage in this PC, I've picked out both an M.2 SSD and a typical SSD. So the M.2 drives are extremely fast. They have a direct feed to the motherboard, so you'll get the most fast speeds that you could possibly get from any SSD. And these are faster than typical SSDs, which feature SATA cables. So for the M.2 drives, I picked out one 512 gigabyte Plextor M.2 drive. So as I already mentioned, these will be extremely fast, and they have over a gig of read and write speeds. So that's definitely what I recommend for this build for the M.2 drives. So now for the typical SSDs, I've picked out 8 1 terabyte each Samsung 850 Pro SSDs. These are extremely fast, although not quite as fast as the M.2 drives, but they still deliver extremely fast operation and definitely faster than any hard drive on the market. And they also don't have any moving parts, so you won't be having to deal with any noises from a hard drive that they typically do deliver. So that's definitely what I recommend for the storage setup. And you can also run those in RAID too, which I do recommend to give even faster speeds for those. So now let's move on to the next part. So now we have the part that I'm sure most of you guys have been looking forward to, the GPU. So I picked out 4 EVGA GTX 980 Classified Edition GPUs. So these are the fastest cards on the market, and they feature 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory. And they also featured the ACX 2.0 cooling unit, so they offer very low noise and also very cool temps for that GPU inside. And since we'll be running them in 4-way SLI, they all work together as one unit, and they deliver incredible performance. On all games, you should be getting well over 60 FPS, even on ultra settings. So I definitely recommend this setup with GPUs, and let's keep moving on. So for the case in this build, I've picked out a Corsair 900D case. This is a super tower case, and it's a very large case. It has tons of airflow options, so lots of places for fans you can insert, and also great support for radiators. And it's a huge case overall. It has lots of support for almost anything you can imagine, and it's great for the custom loop that we're going to do. So you can put your reservoirs and your pumps and everything you need to make a great system. So that's definitely what I recommend for this build. So now for the power supply, I picked out a Corsair AX1500i 1500 watt power supply from Corsair. It is titanium certified, so it's extremely efficient and will save you quite a bit of money on your power bill. and it is also completely modular, so you only have to plug in the cables you need and nothing else. And there's also a really cool feature which I like called the 0 RPM fan mode. So the fan will only spin up when it registers that there's enough load, so it requires the fan. Otherwise, it will be completely off all the time, and I really like that advantage. So now I know that hardly anyone actually uses a DVD drive nowadays, but I just thought in this build you might want to have one considering you're about to spend $25,000. So I just threw in an Asus Blu-ray drive, which is about $50, and that will get the job done just fine if you want to play any Blu-ray discs in the future. So in this build, I also decided to throw in Windows 8.1 Pro Edition. And this is really the operating system I recommend because it's the latest operating system and you'll get the upgrade to Windows 10 once it comes out, and it's just a great operating system all around. I mean, I know some gamers like Windows 7, but personally I have lots of experience with Windows 8.1 and I personally enjoy it a lot, so that's definitely what I recommend for this build, software-wise. So now let's move on to the displays for this build. I picked out 4 Samsung 32-inch 4K monitors. These are TN panels, and they have an 8 millisecond response time, which is not the fastest, but they still get the job done pretty nicely considering they're 4K. They also have a 60 Hz refresh rate, and overall they're just great displays. I definitely recommend them, and the price is pretty high, but the 4K is just outstanding, and that's definitely what I recommend because that's turning into what the future is going to be like. 1080p will probably be phased out pretty soon, so that's what I recommend for this build. For the fans in this build, I've picked out 17 Noctua NFF12 fans. These are 120mm fans from Noctua, and they deliver mirror silent operation and overall great fans, and they have a pretty nice aesthetic. And some people may not like the brown Noctua fans, but these actually have a black and really dark brown color scheme, so they'll fit in pretty nicely with this build, and that's definitely what I recommend for this build. So for a keyboard, I've picked out the DOS Keyboard 4 Professional. This has a great overall color scheme, and it has Cherry MX Blue switches, so they have that tactile feedback and that clickiness. I actually have a keyboard with Cherry MX Blue switches, and I'm pretty pleased. I really like the sound feedback because you definitely know what you're hitting and when you're hitting it, so that's a nice advantage. And they're also a really nice build quality on that keyboard, so I definitely recommend that keyboard. So for the mouse in this build, I picked out a Mad Catz Rat R9 laser gaming mouse. And this is a wireless mouse, and it has plenty of buttons all over it so you can customize them to help you out in games. And it has 6400 DPI, and that's a ton of DPI. You don't even need that at all, but it's a really nice advantage to have it on this mouse. So this is an incredible mouse for about $140, and I do recommend it for this build. So for the headphones in this build, I picked out the Audio-Technica ATH M50Xs. These are professional studio monitoring headphones, and they'll deliver smooth audio at the levels that they were recorded at. So it's really nice sounding audio, and it's a great headset all around. So for the sound card in this build, I picked out an Asus Zonar Phoebus 7.1 channel surround sound card. This has a great audio quality, and it also has a control pod that you can put on your desk so you can plug in additional headphones, and you can also control the volume out of it, which is a really nice advantage. So for the speakers in this build, I've gone with the Logitech Z906 5.1 channel surround sound system. These deliver great audio quality, and they come in at a pretty nice price point, and they're great with this system, so I definitely recommend that. So this has been the $25,000 overkill gaming PC build for 2015. Thank you for watching. Please stay tuned for the next ones, and see ya!